What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another fun episode of Nerds Galore. I'm your host, Star Wars Gazer. Next to me, I got Star Wars Nerd. What's up? Kyber Forge next to him. Below me, I got Mr. Andy Garcia, a.k.a. Andy Classified.
Howdy.
We got Whistling Breeze.
Howdy.
And my buddy Colin. You can find him on twitch.tv. Nylock After Dark. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here today, you guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We got a couple people in the building. We got Artifact Sith. Welcome back. And to the left, Commander Jesse. Hello there.
Hello.
Hello. Come here, little friend. Don't be afraid. And we got Outpost Treasure Chest here. Dang, this stream is loaded with nerds. Absolutely. It's called Nerds Galore, not nerds here and there. Come on now. Missing a certain masked figure. Yes, he's been out the last little while. He's actually been working night shift at his job that he ends up closing pretty late. By the time he gets done, we're already pretty good chunk through the stream. So, yeah, unfortunately, he's been kind of on a hiatus. Appreciate all 6 of you in here right now. This is going to be fun, you guys. I think this is going to be a lot of fun to talk about. Before we do get started on the JFK stuff, Star Wars Nerd had a couple of news pieces he wanted to talk about regarding Star Wars that we'll touch on first. So go ahead, Mr. Nerd. Let's take it away.
So the first one, at the time, well, still even now, I've seen mixed reports that it's just one small sliver thing in the new Kylo Ren comics, but they are just running out of ideas at this point because now they have Kylo Ren hunting Order 66 survivors set after The Last Jedi. So I just need somebody to please make it make sense to me because it genuinely hurts my brain to like think about.
Okay, so it doesn't make any sense, but I honestly love how much sleep you have lost over this.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense, man. Like, it's bad enough. Like, every show that they've put out has an Order 66 survivor or somebody that's already been established as a non-Force user all of a sudden becomes a freaking Force user. Why can we not just give us the one final thing, which we've all wanted, is to see Anakin slaughtering everybody in the Jedi Temple and then call it quits with Order 66? I mean, at this point, Palpatine's plan just didn't work. It was just dog doo-doo.
Yeah.
Voodoo.
There's at least like 5 different angles that we could see younglings getting killed that I'm sure Disney can put out there for us, you know?
Yeah. Yep. And here's the deal too. Like it's the same thing with everybody getting stabbed now. Like Qui-Gon, like I know there's a lot of memes about it. It's like Qui-Gon sitting on the couch going, "Hey, like what the crap, man? How come he gets to live?" You know, like
Hey, you know, revenge, it does a lot of great things for the will to live, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you're 8 years old getting stabbed through the chest by the chosen one. Yeah. That does a lot for you. Good Lord.
Oh.
Max is going to be like, where'd all these Order 66 survivors come from? Oh, you remember that room of younglings you thought he slaughtered? Yeah, he didn't really slaughter them all.
Oh my! Don't Disney! Don't you take that away! Don't you take that? That is supposed to like be the cementing factor of like this dude is truly gone. Like, do not take that away. You already brought Palpatine back and kind of undid his redemption. At least let him keep going to the dark side, please.
Isn't the one Inquisitor girl from the Obi-Wan show, supposedly he tried to kill her?
That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but then he didn't.
Yeah, in the flashback, she was like 9 or 10 years old, and he stabs her through the chest.
Man.
And then she stabs the Grand Inquisitor through the chest, and then he walks back on set like, "Oh, I'm
it's
alive."
been established that his species has like 4 stomachs and stuff. So
that's true.
Man.
Also, they did a terrible job with the prosthetics for the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah,
His
that
species,
was
species was, yeah.
Yep.
I saw a fan edit where they went in and like actually did the CGI to like make him look more like he did in Clone Wars, and it looked all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Commander Jesse says, I'm happy to see up to 100 Order 66 survivors. That means 99% were destroyed. That was enough for Palpatine. He destroyed their order, left them stranded in the corners of the galaxy. I mean, I get that a little bit, but
with that, who is Yoda referring to in I think it's Empire Strikes Back when Obi-Wan says, "Oh, but he's our only hope."
right.
And then he says,
exactly.
"No, there is another."
Leia.
Okay.
He's referring to Leia.
Yeah.
Or 90 or 100 other.
Was he?
Spoiler alert!
Okay.
Sorry, if anybody watching
Colin,
hasn't seen.
was he? Yeah. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I think we all pretty much assumed that he was referring to Leia at that point.
Yeah.
But now Disney's taking it to like Colin said, well, did he? You know what I mean? Like,
Unless they don't overtly like say it, like it's now open for interpretation, like where they want to go with it canon wise.
yeah. He also says the Grand Inquisitor had 2 stomachs, I believe.
Something like that. I just
Yeah.
remember he had an odd or weird number of organs that should have definitely been, Deadzo Libre. So
Yeah.
I'm sure he could put chili dogs away like nobody.
Mm-mm. All right, what was the other piece of news there, Star Wars nerd?
This next one is actually kind of big. It says, this is from Screen Rant. New Lucasfilm era takes shape with a major leadership change going back to Disney's acquisition in 2012. A surprising shakeup at Lucasfilm sees Rain Roberts depart to Searchlight Pictures, with newcomer Derek Hoffman taking over as vice president development. Feels okay, so don't need to know his history, but like he was involved with like almost all of the X-Men movies. So I feel like as long as they stick to like, the good ones, like Days of Futures Past, First Class, the Wolverine, Logan, I feel like we'll be fine. But I'm also a big fan of like the unpopular X-Men movies, like the Last Stand. I know a lot of people don't like that. So I'm torn on this. They need to just get rid of a lot of the people there and just bring in a bunch of new people that actually care about lore and the story and the history and don't want to chuck lightsabers over shoulders. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's good that they're getting a new VP.
Yeah.
I say the proof is in the pudding. Until they start putting out good stuff, y'all need to keep changing. So,
Yep. And then once you find that person that puts out good stuff, stop changing.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind, like I things aren't working, they'll shake up, nothing wrong with that. Like hopefully we'll see some things change for the positive. Like, I mean, they have a lot of big things coming, so hopefully that kind of maybe adds a little bit extra to those to make them a little bit better if they weren't going to be as good as what we hoped they were.
Yeah. Going back to our last topic, Joey Chestnut, move aside with the 2 stomachs.
That is a Netflix special I want to see. Joey Chestnut versus the Grand Inquisitor hot dog eating contest.
Seth, Whistling Breeze, we need your voice. Who will win?
Who will win? Joey Chestnut or the Grand Inquisitor?
Love it. Oh man. All right, guys. So we're gonna get started here talking about our main topic for tonight: JFK, MLK, and RFK. So, for those of you in here, appreciate all 6 of you. I think we had 11 at one point. I appreciate every single one of you. Drop a comment in the comment section below. Love to hear from you guys. Love to talk to you guys. So, for those of you that I don't know if any of you follow the news or whatever, but now that we have a new president, he has promised and signed an executive order to release all files regarding the JFK assassination the MLK assassination, and the RFK assassination. And so with this Nerds Galore, we like talking theories. We like talking conspiracies, the whole 9 yards. And so as soon as I heard that, I was like, we have to talk about this on Nerds Galore. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're just going to set things up. So we're going to talk about what happened, what we were told, and then some conspiracies behind each one. We're going to start with the JFK files first. So obviously you guys know that in, I believe it was August of 1963, President John F. Kennedy was in a motorcade in Dallas, Texas, where he was shot and killed. And the official report states that he was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald, and that Oswald acted entirely alone. It's also concluded that Jack Ruby acted alone when he killed Oswald 2 days later. So, official report, he was killed. Lee Harvey Oswald did it from, I think there was a building a little bit ways away that they say he did it from. And then 2 days later by Jack Ruby on his way to court, I believe, or getting away from court. So let's open up the floor here. Let's talk about what did you guys, I know I sent you guys a couple videos that I watched too. What are your guys' thoughts on this JFK assassination and any conspiracy theories you guys might have seen?
I just want to say that this was my first time actually looking up Lee Harvey Oswald, and for the longest time, I didn't think he was a real person. I thought it was just somebody that they made up to take the fall. Like they just made up a name and was like, "Yeah, it's this guy."
Nerd doesn't trust anybody with 3 names.
No. Star Wars nerd.
Yeah.
That's funny. I love it. All right, but the floor is open for you guys. Talk about it. Talk any conspiracies and.
So outside that video you sent me, I know a big argument for the whole JFK assassination being fake is, if I remember correctly, the building that he was in to take this shot didn't line up with like the angle that it's seen him going down from. If I remember correctly, like the way he falls, it doesn't line up properly. And a big argument is that it would take someone with heavy like military background in distance shooting to make the shot from that building. Is like one of the biggest reasons why there's so much controversy around if he actually killed JFK or not.
Right. Yeah. And that's something too we'll get into. Like I said, I sent you guys some videos about if you guys haven't seen it, James, look up the name James Files on YouTube. He's part of the mob in Chicago, and he gives a couple of different interviews, one that's an hour long, another one that's a little over 2 hours long, and he talks about the whole setup, that they set it up. The CIA was in on it, but the mob is the one that set it up. So, and we'll get into that a little bit later here. But yeah, that is one of the things, Colin, they say is that the building from where he, and like the way his body moves when he gets shot, like it doesn't add up.
Mm-hmm. In fact, if I remember correctly, that's such a prevailing popular theory around the whole JFK assassination that the TV show Bones, which is a investigation show, has a whole episode where they go over the angling of the shot and all that to add up if it could have been done by him, just like for funsies. Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah.
Does anyone off the top of your head know how many shots were supposed to have been fired?
See, that's the other thing that's conflicting too, because some people say they only saw 1 shot, and a lot of other people say no, there were 2 shots.
Right, because I don't know the exact details, but there's the magic bullet theory. They say that 1 bullet ricocheted off of JFK into the seat and then back into him and zigzagged through his body. Correct?
Yeah.
Which a lot of people say is impossible, that there had to be at least 3 to 4 shots, but they say no, it was just 2 bullets. two or three bullets that left 4 marks.
Yeah. And I'll tell you
Because,
right now. Go ahead, Seth. Go ahead.
I was going to say that if you put in multiple rounds going off, then either Lee Harvey Oswald fired, reloaded, and fired again on target remarkably fast, as in
Right.
inexplicably fast, as in there's no way he could have done that, or someone else was involved. And that means the whole thing comes apart. So that's why that particular point is such a sticking point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
If I remember correctly, I could be wrong on this, but wasn't the gun they caught him with a bolt action rifle?
Yes.
Which is another
Yep.
reason why that's a big, like, it could only be one
Mm.
shot if it was him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. So one of the things, and I'll just kind of get into this a little bit here, is so that James Files, he sits down with a reporter and he talks about it. He's the one that shot John F. Kennedy, one of the 2 people that shot John F. Kennedy that day. And he talks about, like I said, it was a mob job. They had gotten down the week before to kind of scout things out. The day before the assassination, he actually talked to his mob boss, was down there. His name was Charles Nicoletti, and he was like a father to him. And they were talking about the job. Mr. Nicoletti asked him, hey, can you be my second point? Just in case I miss the shot, because we're going for a headshot, I want you to be there. And so they set him up. If you take a look, kind of, let me see here. I'm going to pull this up just so that way. Let's see. I'm going to pull up a picture kind of where he was sitting. Okay. I'm going to pull this one up. It's a little blurry, but we're going to make this work. Okay. I'm going to share my screen here. I don't know. Can you guys see? It's a little... Man.
Yes.
Okay. So up here, okay? So this is obviously there's the motor. There's where the motorcade was going right in front of these people here. And off up here in this little tree line here is where James Files says he was sitting when he was taking the shot. And he said that his gap that he had was between that tree and there was a highway there with a billboard that he only had like a certain amount of time to be able to take this shot before it was out. And so this motorcade is coming by and he's getting ready because his opportunity, he's like, I either have to take this shot or I have to walk away. And so he lines it up to try and shoot Kennedy through the eye, through his right eye, because they were told, he said they were told, do not harm Jacqueline Kennedy. So he lines it up with his right eye as he's pulling the trigger. If anyone knows, if you're a good shot, you know, you take breaths when you pull that trigger, right? And when you're letting your breath out is when you're squeezing that trigger. You want to be surprised when that shot goes off. You want to be surprised. And so as he pulls and squeezes that trigger, his boss, who is actually the number one shot, was up in the building that they talk about Lee Harvey Oswald. And his boss, Nicoletti, was the one taking the shot. The reason that Lee Harvey Oswald was up there, according to James Files, was because he was there to collect the shell casing. He's like, if you've been part of assassination before, after you take the shot, you don't want to be sitting there looking for shell casing. You want to get out. So they always had somebody there with them usually to take care of the shell casing. And that was Lee Harvey Oswald's job for Mr. Nicoletti. So he said as he went to pull the trigger into Mr. Kennedy's eye, he heard another gun go off and he realized it must have been him. And if you look at the video, Kennedy gets hit in the back and kind of lurches forward a little bit. And as soon as he lurches forward, he gets hit in the temple and you see his head like jolt off to the side. And that's because his right eye shot ended up hitting him in the temple. And one of the things that I found very fascinating about this is that the doctor that worked on him as soon as Kennedy got back, because right after that happened, the guy took off and they went to the hospital. The doctor that worked on him was working on him, and Mrs. Kennedy came up, and she's holding her hands like this. He said left over right, comes up to him, nudges him with her elbow, and she had a piece of his brain in her hand. And he said that's when they looked and they saw there was a massive just like chunk out of his backside of his head gone. And so just some things that's really interesting, a story that I don't know, for all intents and purposes seems to kind of be corroborated by the doctor himself. But what did you guys think of that story for those that listened to it?
It was for me, it was a lot of interesting detail. I am 50-50, or I'd say maybe more like 70-80% sure that he's the shooter. My one biggest hang up on him being the shooter is he knew way too much detail from back then for it to be real. Like
What do you mean by that?
So they asked him questions in the interview, back to files. He apparently he's like, oh, I'm trying to think of the details. He gives very specific details on if he took a right turn to drive to the grassy knoll. He knew too many details on, oh, it's a green light, a red light. There's so many minute details that to me is like, if this interview took place in the 90s and this event happened in the 60s, there's no way he should be able to remember in that level of detail all the bits and pieces.
One thing I will say to that though is and to counteract, just to play a little devil's advocate, is that a guy like that was used to assassinations, right? That was kind of one of the things that he did. He protected Nicoletti, and he talked about it with the gun that he used. You know, there was called the Fireball, which no one had at the time because it wasn't out for sale, but they got from the CIA. He said that, he was used to assassinating people. You know, they had a whole booklet full of people they assassinated, why they assassinate them, the whole 9 yards. So, like, to me, someone like that who's used to assassinations and not getting caught, to me, that person has to be detail-oriented, very specifically detail-oriented, to make sure every minute detail is completely covered, is to cover their tracks. At least in my opinion, I feel like someone's got to be like that to do that job well.
Yeah, no, that's a good explanation.
I'm in the same boat. I feel like the fact that he knew and remembered so much of everything down to the minute detail is more of an indicator this is a true story.
Right.
Because if someone's making up a story, they're not going to remember every little detail and be able to say it like as consistently and coherently as that guy did.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, you go ahead, Colin. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good. And I think it's very interesting how in that video he brings up how, I don't remember as much as I should because I'm in this prison. The water here's friggin' terrible. It's degrading my health, but I'm gonna do the best I can. And then he gives like such detail that's like immaculate description and really pretty accurate to the area. Like I think in the case there's only like 3 or 4 things where it's like a hiccup on, but like 3 or 4 things out of 2,000 things is like insanely accurate.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, the way he talks about the rail yards behind that fence that I showed you guys, where he's kind of at in the tree line, there's like a whole rail yard back there. Like the way he describes that down to a T. He talks about when they actually did find a casing over in that general vicinity, and he goes, "Yeah, that casing that they found, I put teeth marks into it." He goes, "I was young, I was cocky. This was like one of my biggest assassinations. After I was done cleaning up, put my gun back in the case. I took the casing." He's like, "I actually like the taste of sulfur." He goes, "I put it in my mouth, bit down on the case, threw it up on the fence, and left."
Do we know if they found tooth marks on that casing that they found?
Yeah, they did. They found tooth marks on it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We got some people in here. Toy Bills, good to see you, sir. What's good, fellas? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all 10 of you in here. Doghouse Video. Hello, nerds. Whistling Breeze looks like he could wrestle a hog or two.
Yeah, I love bacon.
I love it. Yeah, Colin, I'm with you too. Like I said, like that the fact that he remembers those things doesn't bother me. It actually, for me, like this guy knew what he was doing. He was part of a mob for so long that like these details are just so like yeah, because I mean, I think about it this way, like when I'm interviewing my kids when like they get into some type of trouble, right? I'm always looking for the kid who's like confident about the story a lot of times. You know what I mean? Like, hey, James, what happened? Well, this happened, this happened, this happened. Even if it makes him look bad, I mean, this story makes him look bad. He put a bullet into the president's head. You know, he's like, this happened, I did this, and then this happened, right? Versus the kids like, my brother did it. Okay, well, how did he do it? I don't remember. Okay, well, come on now. Like,
That's fair.
Also,
That's fair.
Along the gun, what was the name of the gun again?
the
commercial name of
fireball.
it? So the fireball, So before it was commercially released, it was in development by, I believe it was Remington is the company that makes the
Yes.
fireball.
Yep.
It had a different name in development, but early models of it, which were available around this time, were available to CIA operatives and other government entities,
Yes.
not the general public. So
Yep.
the whole group of people are saying, well, this is clearly a lie because this gun wasn't available back then. Didn't do a little bit of homework.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and James Files talks about that. He says we got that gun from the CIA agent. They're not their holder. Their controller.
Handler.
They called them controllers back then, but handler, yes.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, he said we got it from our controller Phillips. His last name was Phillips. Gave it to him. He goes, actually, I used that gun on like 3 or 4 assassinations before, and I knew how to use it. It was a one-shot gun, but I knew how to use it. Colin, stop being so smart, Colin. You show off. But the other thing that helped is a lot of people say, well, the fireball is only a 22 long rifle round. How could that blow out the back of his head? James Files explains that. He said their bullet maker, he had those bullets custom made for himself. And their bullet maker, what he would do is he would take the actual bullet and he would drill out a tiny hole and he would pour a drop of mercury in it. So the minute that it hit, it exploded. And so that's what happened when it hit Kennedy in the head. It exploded and blew out the back of his skull. And he talks about that too. He's like, I saw it in the scope. Like as soon as I shot and it hit, he goes, I could see fragments behind him, like falling and hitting her behind her.
Didn't he describe it as a pop, if I remember
Yes.
correctly?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would be interested in hearing more about why Nicoletti himself was there, and not just there, but actually pulling the trigger. If he's one of the more upper levels of this organization, why not use another patsy?
Well, the part of the reason was because they really wanted this job done. He explains, and their main the main boss, and he never tells us who the name of the main guy was. He wanted to make sure this got done, and so it was one of those things that
you want something done right, do it yourself.
Exactly. So that's why Nicoletti was there, to make sure it got done, and that's why he said he wanted to be the one to shoot, because he's like, if this has to be done, I'm going to be the one to do it and make sure it gets done.
So, I mean, to be fair, I guess that was technically a bad call because he missed his shot, which caused another person to have to, actually do the job.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like James Files, he was actually came out of the military, and he trained people how to use weapons. Like he was very, very well versed in how to use weaponry. So to me, like, yes, as a mob boss, I'm sure obviously you need to get the job done, but I'd be asking the guy who knows all about weapons and does it all the time. You know what I mean? Like I'd be asking a guy like James Files, hey, I need you on point on this one. I need you to make sure you hit this shot.
If I remember, he actually goes over talking to with him about like where he'd recommend, and he brought up that building, and he said, I mean, it's an okay spot, and then he pointed out that he'd rather be at the rail, in front of the railroad tracks, and that's why he went over there, and Nicoletti went into the other building.
Yes, that's correct. So, Andy, you said you have a little bit more kind of details on that magic bullet theory.
Yeah, so I just quickly did a little bit more research to realize that I was misspoken on some of the details for that. But according to the official account, Lee Harvey Oswald fired 3 shots. The first shot missed entirely, and ended up ricocheting and striking a bystander by the name of James Togg. I'm not sure how to pronounce that correctly, but the second shot is what's called the magic bullet. The magic bullet, and that's the one that struck both Kennedy and the governor of Texas, John Connally, causing multiple wounds. And that one supposedly entered Kennedy's upper back and then exited through his throat, and then through his throat went into Connally's back, went through Connally's chest, shattered a rib, and then exited his right side. And then through there broke Connally's wrist, and then finally lodged in Connally's thigh. So this thing went zigzagging all over Connally's body. And
anyone knows ballistics, that is impossible. That does not
so
happen.
many bounces. Yeah.
Indeed. Now, the House Select Committee in 1979 concluded that there was a fourth shot. That they believe that the shot. Concluded that a fourth shot was fired based on an analysis of police recordings suggesting a second shooter. But the official story is still that Lee Harvey Oswald shot only 3 shots, even though the committee found that there had to have been 4 shots.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing too, Colin, going back to what you were saying about Nicoletti, right? Nicoletti and my mom here says some witnesses heard 4 or more shots. See, here's the deal though. Here's what with your Nicoletti thing is that when they were talking the day before, right? He talks about, like you said, hey, I want to shoot from the building. Files is like, that's okay, but it's not that great. Like, I'd rather be over here in this corner fence right next to the rail yard. It's a quick getaway. I can make myself look like a railroad worker, kind of get up to the fence, do what I need to do, put it back in the briefcase, flip my jacket, make myself look, blend in. And that's one of the things that is really interesting is that, one, the ballistics, a report like that with ballistics, that's just, I don't even know what to say. Like, that's completely impossible. I don't care what caliber weapon you have. Yeah, sure, it might go through one guy, hit the chair in front of him, and maybe nick the guy in the chair, but it's not gonna go like through a guy, through a seat, through the other guy, bounce off, hit another guy. Like, that's just completely impossible.
If it has enough velocity, then it's not going to bounce. It's
right.
going to pierce.
Right.
Unless it's hitting like solid metal, not somebody's like wrist or whatever that was.
Yeah. And so the whole thing with Lee Harvey Oswald, like, one, with a bolt action rifle, there's no way you're getting off 4 shots in the short amount of time that happened. There is no physical way to get off 4 shots with the bolt action. Like I said, the only reason Lee Harvey Oswald was there was to collect that casing. Now, when Nicoletti and Files were talking, Files told Nicoletti, hey, I've been working with this guy all week because he's been showing me around Dallas. I don't feel comfortable with him. Not because he's a snitch, but because for being in the mob, he's almost too good of a goody two-shoes, because he wouldn't want to kill. He wouldn't want to do some of these other things. And so Nicoletti said, don't worry about him. We'll take care of him. And so if you actually read the report, there was only 1 cop that died that day. And that cop stopped the guy who was going to kill Lee Harvey Oswald. Nicoletti had left Lee Harvey Oswald in that building after he took the shot. And they had a guy coming to kill him, and cops stopped that guy, and that 1 cop that died stopped the wrong guy was in the wrong place at the wrong time and got killed, unfortunately. So yeah, dude, it's wild. Oh crap, what did I wander into? You wandered into some conspiracy theories, man, about JFK, baby. Appreciate all 12 of you in here. A lot of fun. Let's see. Jolly West and MK Ultra are involved. Jolly West visited Ruby after he killed Oswald, and then Ruby went insane immediately. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you watch the movie Shooter, which is it's a Hollywood movie,
That's a great movie.
It's a great movie, but what they talk about in there, it's accurate. When there's a conspiracy, anyone who's left behind, anybody who can track back to the people who actually were the behind the scenes, they're all going to go away.
Yep.
Like they're not going to make it. No one's going to make it. So even the guy who got Lee Harvey Oswald, he went down. So
Yep. Yep. And that's something that they talk about as far as James Files even talks about is like, then why are you still alive? And he goes, because before Mr. Nicoletti was assassinated ruthlessly, he gave me his diary with every detail from everything they ever did, dates, names, all of it. He goes, I buried it. And I'm the only one that knows where it's at, and that's the only reason. One of the only reasons I'm alive right now is because they still want that diary, and they're still trying to get it from me.
They tortured him almost to death, right? To try and get
They
it.
did, yeah. Actually, like it was like I want to say like a year or two after the assassination. It was a few months after Nicoletti was assassinated. He said he was working late night. They had two different businesses that he ran. One was just a club for guys. He's like, it had no women. I wasn't about that life. It was just you come in, you gamble, you hang out, you drink. That was it. The other one was I owned a restaurant. And so he goes, a lot of times when it got late at night, I would call the restaurant and say, hey, can you make, 12 burgers, a bunch of fries, whatever. I'll walk down. It's like 2 blocks. He's like, I'll walk down, I'll pick it up, and I'll be there in a minute. And so he said that he ordered that, and he was walking down. He said he got to a corner, and there was a Cadillac that pulled up and stopped for a second, and he kind of like backed up a little bit off the corner and was like, what the crap, man, this guy almost ran me over. He said the window rolled down. Next thing he knew, he was pepper sprayed and he was being tied up, and he was tortured and he goes, I don't believe for a minute that it was the mob that got me, because the mob would have killed me. He goes, I believe it was the government that tortured me because they left me alive.
I think, didn't he say specifically the FBI, because the CIA
Yes.
would have also killed him?
Yes.
Right.
He did.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Because that ledger would have closed the case on several murders in the Chicago area for the FBI, correct?
Yes. And they asked him, like, why wouldn't you share that? And he goes, because I don't want them closing that up. I don't care about that stuff. So, says, have they released any of the government stuff? Not yet. I think they're waiting for Kash Patel to be officially confirmed, and then I think they're going to release this stuff. So we're just trying to get ahead of it. We're going to start talking about it right now. So was he in the wrong place, or was he supposed to be there as well? Agent versus agent versus agent, each one to clean up the other.
Oh, that's a really good question. So I think that would, does that mean that the CIA, I think the popular theory is that the CIA killed him. According to files, they at least knew something was up, correct?
Well, they knew more than something. Colin, go ahead. I know.
So according to it's James West, right? Was his name, right?
James Files.
Or James Files.
Yeah.
So according to James Files, the CIA and mob were collaborating until basically the day of the assassination. And then the CIA said, no, don't do it. We're going to do it somewhere else. And the mob said, screw it. We're killing him.
Yeah.
And that's why it went down that day.
Yeah. And even James Files talks about that, like a day or two before. It was the day before, because it was the same day that he talked to Nicoletti at that spot. That morning, he took, I can't remember his name now, John something. He drove him to Fort Worth, and they went to a diner, or actually a Waffle House there, and sat down. James Files kind of sat off to the corner. His partner met with, turns out, CIA agent. His last name was Phillips, who handed him a file. They talked for a few minutes. stood up, shook hands. The CIA guy left. After about 20 minutes, he said they got up, they left. And as they were driving back to Dallas, he kind of glanced over to see what was in the file because his buddy was opening it up. And it was the actual route of the president. And he's like, there was only one thing in it that was changed. There was only one part of it that changed. He goes, there were Secret Service badges for us in there, fake Secret Service badges, and some other stuff that only like the president's like people would have known. And so, yes, the CIA was definitely involved. They're not necessarily the ones that pulled the trigger, but they were definitely involved and they knew about it.
But that's a classic modus operandi for government agencies. They don't actually get in there themselves, so there's no literal blood on their hands. It's you go to some local guy, some local muscle, and you say, all right, we want this to happen. You make it so. We'll provide you money or a fireball or, whatever things you need, and you go do it.
Yeah.
Because then there's multiple layers of deniability. Well, who met with that guy? Well, he says it's CIA. Well, of course you would. He's the mob. You can't trust the mob, right? And all the way back.
Yeah, 100%. And that's wherever you land politically. What happened with Trump in that Pennsylvania rally almost seemed like they were trying to do the same exact thing. Because like all of a sudden you start getting details of like this guy, like it almost seems like this guy was paid to try and do it. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, what is going? He was a novice for the most part. Like it was just like this just isn't adding up. What is going on here?
The fact that the crowd saw him minutes before it happened, tried to get a hold of the authorities. No one did anything about it. When he finally took the shot, apparently this Secret Service were too afraid to go up the roof to get him and waiting for him to come down, or were waiting for him to come down.
Yeah,
those steeply sloped roofs, man,
super steep.
They're dangerous.
Yeah. Let's see. Have you guys heard Doghouse Video? Thanks for being here. Have you guys heard the supposed tape of Clifton Cater talking about how LBJ hired Mike Wallace to kill Kennedy? I have not.
I have not heard of that either.
That is interesting. I will definitely look that up for next time.
Now, I believe in the video that you sent, Morgan, Files mentioned something about Lyndon B. Johnson was looking at going to prison for something before the assassination, correct?
Possibly. I don't remember off the top of my head.
It was a brief statement, and I don't think he went into detail about it, but he was talking about like why the CIA would have wanted Kennedy dead. And he mentioned something that Lyndon B. Johnson was looking at prison time or jail time about something that happened. And that was one of the reasons why him and the mob would have wanted JFK gone.
That's really interesting. I had not heard that. I know a lot of the reason too that is what happened with the Bay of Pigs. I know a lot of people after what happened there, a lot of people turned on him for what happened with that.
Back in Texas, LBJ, he walked real heavy, and he did the same when he was president. He was real pushy, and you have to be really confident of who's in your corner to behave like that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Chain Manska, thanks for being here. Says, just curious, who's the oldest here? I'm 50, and it's nuts that we are all still talking about this. I'm hoping the actual released info isn't going to be a nothing burger.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, same. Who is the oldest here?
Didn't Trump say that he was going to release it last time, but then he didn't because certain people were still alive?
Yes.
Something like
that. Yeah. So I think Whistling Breeze or Kyber Forge, you're probably going to be one of the oldest here. Kyber Forge, how old are you?
I'm 33.
I'm the oldest then. Yeah.
What are you at?
I'll be 40 in July.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh. Ew.
Yeah. And this is something too that is another thing that I've heard as well, is that he had some stuff he wanted to expose the CIA and dismantle them. And then he also wanted to go back to the gold standard because the Federal Reserve had been put in place, which was very unconstitutional. And so he wanted to go back to the gold standard. And so I think there's a complement of things that just they all turned on him.
Yeah.
What's is it Carlin? George Carlin, I think, is the guy, the comedian guy.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anyway, he was on, I believe it was 60 Minutes. I forget which one it was, but some news program. And he made the point that you do not need a specific grand conspiracy. All you need is interests that aligned goals of certain factions. We're like, hey, you know what? It would really benefit you if this guy stopped doing what he's doing. Hey, you know what? It would really benefit you, and it would benefit me. Hey, let's pool resources, or let's just not look into this. We're just going to let it go.
Yep. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things. Colin, you doing a little research over there?
Yeah, I was checking out a quote thing that I was remembering, but I think it's fake, so never mind.
So yeah, there's just a lot of things I think that mounted to his demise, with wanting to dismantle the CIA, wanting to go back to the gold standard, the Bay of Pigs. I think
it's similar to what Trump is doing now, where you have certain government organizations that are seemingly acting like they are their own thing, that they're not accountable to anyone.
USAID.
And then if USAID, anybody comes around sniffing and they go, hey, get out of here, we'll shut you down. And you need someone who's on top to say, no, you are not above us. We're all equal here. And if we give you money, if you take taxpayer money, then you're accountable to us.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. Says, geez, I'm ancient. You guys know Han shot first, right? And then wasn't the Unabomber a victim of MK Ultra?
Ooh. I've never heard that one.
I don't know about that one. That's actually very interesting.
I'd like to know, is it Chain Man? I forgot the commenter's name already. When you were younger, what were some of the theories going around back then for JFK? I'd like to know some of that.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, tell us some of the theories that were kind of circling then. He said he told Israel they couldn't have a nuclear program. He's going after the mob. He didn't want the war. Lots of enemies. Maybe one guy from each group just all showed up on the same day. LOL.
Same theories.
They just got there like, hey, you know what? We all got some ideas.
Says he was MK Ultra 2, the Unabomber. Interesting. Okay. Same. So a lot of the same theories. It's all kind of been rehashed over and over. Yeah. Yeah, we just wanted to kind of bring it back a little bit because, I mean, for me, the way I look at it is with these files coming out, like you said, hopefully it's not a nothing burger, but we wanted to kind of bring it back to light because, I mean, this is, if it's not a nothing burger, I mean, there's a lot of implications in that. A lot of implications.
Once you allow for the possibility of the government actively lying to the citizens, all right, then what is sacred anymore? You know?
Yep, 100%. Yep.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to read this real quick. I heard they wanted to take power away from RFK, so they eliminated JFK first.
Interesting.
Interesting.
What was RFK doing at the time?
He was actually, I think he was in the Senate, and then I think he was getting ready to run for president after JFK, which he ended up doing. And that's when he lost his life, is during his presidential campaign.
From what I understand, the guy who did that was MK Ultra too.
Yeah.
The story, the whole setup, it's, you know, that's a whole other thing. But
yes, and we will get into that.
Exactly, when we get there.
Yep. Says I'm more interested in what's going to happen with the Epstein list. Yeah,
they've already didn't they already close case on that one? Like they're saying we can't open it again. I thought that happened like 3 or 4 years ago, or something like that. Was the official verdict. They like issued a statement about punishments and then said we are no longer allowed to access it or something like that. It was really stupid.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
we'll
I don't
ever
know.
find out.
Yeah.
Because I think that's
Too
way
many
too
people
far
in power
reaching.
would.
Yeah. Half of Hollywood's gone. Half of the government's gone, or almost all the entire government. There's no way we're getting that.
Yeah. It's gonna be CIA would destroy anything that implicates them.
I mean, that's the big fear with the whole CIA will destroy everything with these documents that are going to get released, is that they're just going to be a completely
what documents?
Yeah, it's going to be like, here's the document, and it's just going to say he did it. Oswald did it. Congrats. Now you guys know.
Oh, that's what he was doing. He was Attorney General. So RFK was Attorney General at the time. Okay. Says JFK is interesting, but it isn't as relevant to today's real. Yeah, for sure. But there still is. I mean, there's always something to be learned from history. And when you get revisionist history that gets corrected, that's always something to learn from that as well. Says the Dog's House video says a judge has to unseal it. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Trump doing a lot of what JFK was trying to do.
Which makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they already tried to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Twice.
Yeah.
Yep. Says you guys are the new hope for sanity, seeing all the vileness in the government. Yeah, man. I mean, the government is here to protect the citizens of this country. And when they turn around and they're hiding things and lying to us, and like this whole US aid thing, when the IRS can audit you, but the minute that you try to audit the government, they're like, no, you can't do that. It's like, really, it's our taxpayer dollars that are going to this. I'm pretty sure I can audit you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
They're literally called public servants. They're supposed to serve the public,
which none of them are. None of them are. The only I'm just going to say this. In my opinion, the only true public servant right now is Trump. He's the only one that's not taking any money from the government. He's got zero salary and everything to lose.
So
everyone else is bought by drug companies and all these other entities that it's like, we can't really trust you.
Yeah. I saw it was a really sad meme, but it was the other day. If let's just say that it was only Democrats, which I doubt it was only the Democrats, but let's just say it was only the Democrats were using US aid.
Yeah.
If they were that involved, and if it was there available on Capitol Hill, the Republicans, they didn't know anything. They never heard of it. They had no idea that this was happening. No. If one group was involved, the other group knew about it, and they didn't do anything.
Right.
Or they were involved, because you look at now. Granted, I don't know all the details, but you look at Mitch McConnell, how he's almost tried to step in the way of all these hearing confirmations, and like, no, we don't want this person. We don't want RFK or JFK, or sorry,
RFK Jr.
RFK Jr. Sorry, so many Kennedys, but he's gotten in the way so many times. It seems like, and just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's
stuff.
And think about this. This is the first rock they flipped over in the grand scheme of things. Like, this is the first rock, and we're already at this point where we're like, whoa, holy crap. Like, what is going on? Like,
the thing that Elon Musk said about if you're eating an apple and you see a worm, you're going to try to cut it out. But in this case, we just have a bowl of worms.
Yes.
It's like, oh, man.
100%. Yeah. Yep. 100%. It's crazy, man. Says going to be a wild couple of years. I agree. It really is. U.S. aid is a money laundering op to fund foreign operations and to fund revolutions that overthrow governments the U.S. wants to overthrow. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're talking about in this, right? Like the CIA and all this, like Seth, you were talking about, like they want it done, but they're going to pay somebody else to do it.
Exactly.
The phrase is something like, if it's too dirty for CIA, it goes to U.S. aid. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, Mitch McConnell, rhinos.
Yeah.
I think the Dawn is awesome, but most importantly, he's the catalyst for unleashing what America used to be. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, I don't want to make it seem like we're worshiping Trump, because we're not. The man definitely has flawed character for sure, without a doubt. He's not perfect, never has been, and never will be, just like all of us. But like you said, I think he's starting to unleash what America used to be, and trying to put trust back into the government. Because right now, show of hands, how many of you trust the government right now? Yeah, I mean, neither do I. Like, and that's sad. We're supposed to be able to put trust in them, and
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, even in the 50s and 60s and all that, my grandpa used to tell me that he never trusted the government ever.
Yeah.
And dude was in the Marines,
Right.
Like he was in the military working for the government.
Yeah, but there was a time in our history where the government was just there to protect us, you know, and to keep our rights. Kennedy, King, Kennedy equals KKK equals Albert Pike equals Scottish Rite equals British Empire equals Freemasonry. Oh man,
Oh,
crazy.
All I
If
can
you
think
look
about
back-
now. Oh, sorry. All
No,
I
no,
can
you're
think
good.
about. All I can think about now, whenever I see Freemason, is the I believe it was Benjamin Franklin was the Freemason, if I remember correctly, or was it Thomas
Yeah.
Edison? Benjamin Franklin. His house in England was discovered to be a literal cemetery of like 200 bodies in his basement, and it's because he was a Freemason, and at the time, it was illegal to practice autopsies on bodies. So they were going to graveyards and grave robbing bodies and doing research in his basement and burying them in his basement.
That's wild, dude.
Because he was a Freemason, every time I see Freemason referenced, I just think of the whole. There's a massive graveyard in that that man's basement.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, so we obviously hashed out the JFK thing, and we'll obviously hash it out more as details emerge. Again, hopefully it's not just a nothing burger here. What about MLK? We'll go to MLK next. Any research you guys did on MLK and kind of what you guys think?
Well, I think it's not exactly the same, but it's a similar situation where what they say happened, there's no way that happened. There was literally a tree between. They say that he fired from the washroom in the second story of the boarding house across. There was literally a tree in the way, and they cut it down that night. Like, and when there's lots of different factors, but simply put, the King family was so sure that the guy that they say did it did not do it, that they sued the government for $100 so that no one would say that they did it for money, and they won. And what was the case? Wrongful death in the case of Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
They were in such a rush to basically put it on their patsy that it was in the middle of a city. There were witnesses everywhere. They're like, there is no way what you say happened the way you said.
Yep.
And yeah,
not only was the tree in the way, but it's another instance of whoever took that shot had to know what they were doing. It's not some random citizen who just happened to pull out a gun and hate the guy and shoot him. Like, you had to know what you were doing.
There's also the issue of, I believe it's Earl L. Ray or something like that was his name. The issue with him is that he escaped for a while and was on the run. And this is a guy who, prior to this, was caught on 4 like robbing locations, like post office, convenience stores, all that, and been in and out of prison several times, but it never really figured out how to get away from anywhere. But you're telling me this one time he assassinates someone and suddenly he flees the country successfully to England with plans to go to another area. I think it was in Africa, which was controlled by a white-centered government at the time.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
Just wild. Says the people he's putting into the more important positions are going to weed out the rats. The fact he is now a one-term pres means he can wreck without having to try and make everyone happy for re-election. Yeah. Regarding MLK, says mixed bag. FBI on that one. FBI killed him for being a revolutionary and a socialist. Janelle Kearns. Hey, thanks for being in here, Janelle. Says CIA killed MLK. I mean, I could have definitely been a mixed bag between. I mean, let's pull resources, like you were saying. Like
this guy. If you have someone who's becoming a political power unto themselves, that they're not beholden to you. This is, I think, similar to Trump. Someone who's going to do their own thing, their own way, and they're not going to be controlled. They're going to be removed. Somehow they're going to be dealt with. And when you're the CIA, that means they die.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. And like I said, like, I think the biggest one for everyone here is going to be finding out what's going on with the JFK assassination. Not that we don't care about MLK stuff or the RFK stuff, but I think the biggest one has always been JFK.
Yeah. Sitting president.
Yep. Exactly. Those were the real racist days. Yeah. I mean, it's true. Yeah, it's crazy that like was it Chain Manska? Is that you? Said like it's crazy that we're 40, 50, 60 years later. Is it 50?
Was it 68?
63.
It was 63.
So 52 years later, we're still talking about it, right? Like it's just crazy. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, it's just crazy that we're still talking about it. Chain Man. There we go. Chain Man SCA. Sweet. We'll just call you Chain Man. I like it. Yeah. I like it.
No, I think when right after the JFK assassination happened, the FBI was, I think they were told by someone to say, like, to avoid public speculation, release as much documents as possible. Like, have everything out in the open so that the public doesn't start asking questions. And instead, they did the exact opposite. They destroyed tons of documents and phone records before they could start the real investigation. Which is, if there was nothing to hide, if they had just been open from the very beginning, I don't think this would have been as big an issue, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah. Wild. Kyber Forged, Star Wars Nerd, do you guys have any thoughts on it?
I gotta do some more research on MLK and RFK, but like I said earlier, I've never really believed that it was Lee Harvey Oswald. I mean, I thought that he was just some I thought they just like mashed their hands like on. Well, back then it'd be typewriters, but the keyboard. They basically was just like, okay, we got 3 names. There we go. Pick. You know what? We can't even pick. All of them mashed together.
I mean, definitely. I should have did more research too, but I always thought there was something like fishy about it because I mean, he did fumble Bay of Pigs, and then you saw the assassination attempt. Seemed like it got fumbled. So I mean, it just seems like that was just the running history of how they handled secret operations. So,
yeah, yeah, pretty crazy. Says, what do you think the repercussions would be if the onus falls on the government at this point? I think if it falls on the government, I think that's what Kash Patel is there for. I think at this point, it's no longer a rebuild of the CIA and the FBI. I think it's a complete and absolute teardown of both agencies, and you create something different, which is what they've talked about. And I think at that point, that's the only thing you can do because there's so much corruption. The only way to weed it out is to destroy it completely.
Kennedy was not a great person.
No. Kennedy was not a great person to begin with. And he wasn't. I mean, we've seen all the stories. He was a suspected, obviously cheater on his wife. yeah, there's a lot of questionable things in his past for sure. I'm not trying to praise Kennedy by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah.
If you remove the power, that would definitely do a lot to remove their ability to do wrong, do immoral things, mess with different countries. So if you take the money away, if you take the anonymity away, so like basically what they're doing with USAID, you flip over the rock, you watch the cockroaches run around, and you say, all right, party's over. This is all going back where it's supposed to be. Y'all go somewhere else. You're not going to do this anymore.
Yep. Yeah. Interesting that we stopped talking about Stephen Paddock and how he's able to haul those weapons up the Mandalay Bay. The current alibi is that he's just a disgruntled gambler. Thoughts?
I've never heard of this.
Me either.
That sounds really familiar.
Is that the Bay of Pigs?
Yeah, I don't know if it was or not. I'm looking it up right now. Oh, the Las Vegas shooting. Yeah. See, that's a good point that you bring up, actually. Who is this? Bike Brigade. I like that very much. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that guy shot the crowd from that window. I really don't. I think that's another case of and Colin, I think you and I had talked about this at one point.
Yeah, we talked about how, if I remember correctly, there was a video of someone who recorded the event from their hotel vantage point because they weren't really in the field that was getting fired upon. And in the video, you could hear not only like rapid fire, but like you could see like a gunshot go off in like the sky, like the spark out of the chamber, and it looked like it was coming from like a plane, almost like a blacked out plane, jet black, can't see anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Wild. Doghouse Video says Cash isn't going to destroy the FBI. He said he's going to restructure and make agents go fight crime again. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how he does it. I agree. I think he is going to kick some rear end and take some names.
For sure.
Yeah.
I hope so.
See, bro was on a boat with a bunch of not his wife while his actual wife was having a miscarriage. Yeah, I think he's talking about Kennedy there, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. And he would have been with one of those, would have been Marilyn Monroe he was having an affair with, correct?
One of those, yes.
That is very popular. And I believe there's a movie that covers Kennedy before the assassination, and that is included in the movie. He's like in the president's house in like their pool area swimming, and the missus tries to go check on him while he's doing laps in the pool, and she hears a female laughing in the background, and like one of the Secret Service guys is like, sorry, you can't come in here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jeepers. That's crazy. Yeah, I agree with this too. Multiple gunmen. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's no way that guy fired from that hotel room. I'm sorry. I think it was just another case of he took the fall. Maybe he got paid, got approached to do it, and then they just used him to take the fall. I'd like to know about the other things that have happened more recently, like the guy that shot everyone in Vegas at the concert and the geek who took the shot at Trump. I like the way you put that, the geek who took a shot at Trump. Yeah. I think it's all, like we said, a case of they got paid to do a job when in reality they were getting paid to take the fall for what they were about to try and do.
It's like those guys who were they were basically recruited by the FBI to form a conspiracy to kidnap the governor of Michigan.
Yeah.
But it was the FBI. The whole thing was the FBI. So there were like 3 guys who weren't the FBI, and they were just idiots. They were just idiots, you know?
Yep.
I think so there's a stereotype, like it's almost like a meme at this point, about how, because you know how everything's recorded, like every conversation in the US is recorded and stored in a data bank. But I think it states a lot about the public opinion of the government when the meme goes as follows. You say something like, I don't know, I'm kind of mentally unstable right now. I don't know if I'm safe to the public. And it's like FBI guy texts you. He's like, Would you like to buy an AK to check that out? Maybe see if that would be cool or in your interests, or like or an M15. You want a gun? And like,
Yeah.
I think it really goes to state like where we are as a society and how little we trust the government when that's a relevant meme that people bring up every time there's a shooting of any type, assassination attempt, anything.
Yep. Yeah. This is a good comment here. I feel like those stories will reveal the current cancer as opposed to the corruption from my dad's day. LOL. Yeah. And I think that's the thing is like we're talking about this because if it is not a nothing burger and we get these files, like it'll just expose how long the government's been lying to us further. Like and how long they've been I guess preying on the susceptibility and the trusting of the people in the government. So I mean, like we said, USA first rock, and there's already a bunch of cockroaches running. You know, like this will be interesting.
I will say this. I know we all love Star Wars. If you go back, the original trilogy, it has certain analogies to the Vietnam War.
Yep.
All that. I think when it came out, the prequel trilogy was not really understood. But if you look back at it now, what are they dealing with? The same thing that we're dealing with right now with tariffs and all this. Trade Federation saying, "Hey, we're gonna make money over here. We're gonna do obfuscating government bureaucracy over here," and in the end, they're going to applaud when someone comes along and says, "Cut right through the red tape of the sword. Just cut right through it. Throw all these idiots out of here. I'm going to drive this bus, and we're going to get back on track." And I'm not saying that should happen, but I'm just saying there are certain correlations.
Yes. Bike Brigade, just don't say anything about having incriminating evidence against Hillary Clinton. LOL. Yeah, you might get suicided.
I am not suicidal. Yeah.
you might shoot yourself in the back 46 times.
2 for good measure.
Exactly. Oh man, the only trilogy, the OT.
I always thought my favorite from the Hillary Clinton one was the one where he's like, "I'm not suicidal," pushes himself down 3 flights of stairs.
Oh man. He says, "Yeah, the Clintons need to be on the block." Yeah, for sure. I think I'm hoping with all of this corruption stuff that at least at minimum these people just kind of ride off into the sunset and are never seen again. You know what I mean? Never given the spotlight again. Are exposed for what they are. She was laughing. Good fun. Obi-Wan Kenobi, hello there, my friends. Hello, Obi-Wan. Good to see you, sir.
Obi-Wan.
Howdy.
Howdy, y'all. Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome. Yeah, dude. I never try to get too overly political, being mainly Star Wars channel, but I mean, you're talking about the JFK, all these assassinations, right? There's at some point you're going to have to break that a little bit. So, there needs to be accountability. Agreed. That's the biggest thing. We just want accountability. Like, if we have to be honest with you or we get in trouble, why shouldn't you have to be honest with us or you get in trouble?
Yep. Have y'all
It's a
listened to
one-way street, bud? You didn't realize this yet?
Right. I know.
Yeah. There's a recent Tucker Carlson interview where I forget who he's speaking with, but they're talking about why there are people in the government who behave the way they do. And it's more of a cultural thing that they honestly believe that they are supposed to be in the driver's seat. They're supposed to be in control of the money and the political power because they are who they are. And it's like something in their mind that makes them think we're better than you. Of course we can audit you. We're better than you. There is no way that you could ever audit us. We're better than you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was funny. I was listening to it was Elizabeth Warren. She was going off on whoever, I can't remember which one she was confirmation hearing. Anyway, she was going off and basically said, for all intents and purposes, like the taxpayers have no right to know where their tax money is going. And I'm like, I think she just said the quiet part out loud. I don't think she was supposed to say that out loud. Yeah. So it's the first time anyone has actually been doing their job. It's kind of amazing. How crazy would it be to trust again? I know, right?
Yeah.
This is Pocahontas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That lady was crazy.
Yeah.
Was it like 1024th Cherokee or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah,
And
it
now
was.
she's Indian. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. RFK Jr. Yep. That's who she was going after. That's right. That's right. Because I loved his comment about when he's like, dude, you guys used to be my friends. Most of you used to be my friends.
That's
And I was
right.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy that real change is happening. Go ahead.
Did you see the clip of him and the exchange with Bernie Sanders about the onesies?
Yes. Yeah,
That's
and he goes,
hilarious.
how much money have you taken from him? Like, from them? And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. That was so funny. I was like, wow. I watched that live, actually. That was so funny.
It's incredible.
Our founding fathers set up our republic with the understanding of limited government. Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
Our founding documents were designed to limit the power of the government, not the people.
Yeah. Yep. I used to live in the seat of the Cherokee Nation. The shade the real Indians was thrown was epic.
Oh,
that's awesome. Yeah. So I'll be, like I said, I'll be interested to see with you guys what happens if we end up getting a big old nothing burger, or if something does come of this and we learn, like, holy crap, like, you know, James Files was telling the truth, you know. Let's see, Bernie stroked out. Yeah, he did. Let's be honest. Colin and I talk about this all the time. All those people in there look like they're about ready to stroke out. Like,
oh, so much.
God, we talk about Disney
term
needing
limits,
to clear
baby.
house.
Yes. Right, exactly, Star Wars nerd. Exactly. Yeah, I think there needs to be term limits on all of it. I really do.
Yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
that's part of being public servant.
If you were born during like Great Depression or freaking World War I, I don't think you need to be in office anymore, making decisions for everybody.
Right.
You could barely probably even wipe your own butt. You probably have to wear adult diapers. Get out of here.
Right.
Have you seen during the confirmation hearings, Mitch McConnell does a press briefing right after, and one time he like froze on stage, like just staring at the camera. They had to like actually like help him. I don't know if there was just
his batteries ran out.
Yeah, like he's just stands there. Then recently he fell while trying to get to the stage. Have you seen that clip? Yeah, it's just.
I don't.
What is this? Why is this guy still here?
Do you know the Mitten Man?
The Mitten Man?
The Mitten Man! It says, yes, congressional term limits. Yeah, I mean, that's something like, okay, if you want to make it more like public servant, not that everyone has to do it, but like make it like, okay, if you want to serve, that's great. You get two terms, and then after that, your public servant tree is over, and you can go back to doing whatever you were doing before, you know, like, and be part of the public.
Yeah, because it used to be, this was not your career. This is not what you were going to retire from. This was not your livelihood. So they didn't have the system that they have now where like, oh, you work for a little bit, and when you're finished, you've got great health care. You've got all your retirement money. You have all this stuff. It's insane.
Yeah. And they have the, you know, the typical rules for thee and not for me, you know,
like y'all are on Obamacare, but not us. Oh no, no.
Yeah. Right. What do you guys think about? I think Trump took away the protection for like people like Anthony Fauci, all the former public servants that no longer have security.
Well, I mean, didn't Biden pardon them all on his way out?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But like, I think Anthony Fauci had like government issued like protection, like Secret Service. And so Trump says no, you guys can no longer have that. Once you're
Yeah.
out, you're out.
Yeah. Good comment here. What about the possible involvement of George Bush Sr.? Yeah, I've actually seen that too. Like, he was part of the
Yeah.
CIA at the time that JFK was assassinated.
In Texas, too.
In Texas too, yes. And according to James Files, that's a good point you bring up, because I remember this now. According to James Files, I'm pretty sure James Files says like he was actually in charge of the division that led the assassinations, basically, of people. Yeah, he was there. Yep, he led it. Yeah. So yeah, George Bush Sr. That's another thing too, that like you see all these corrupt people and people you never thought like were necessarily corrupt. Maybe they weren't the greatest of people, but like George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr., like you start seeing these people and you're like, what is going on?
Aren't they all members of is it the Skull and Bone Club? Have you guys heard of that?
This?
Skull and Bones
So this
Society.
is yes, Skull and Bone Society. I think it's like a elite club at a specific college that anyone that's been a U.S. president, the Bushes, the Kennedys, the Clinton, they've all been members of the secret special society.
Yeah, Skull and Bones.
Except for Trump, I don't think he was.
Yeah.
Or Obama, but
Doghouse video, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it says his dad, Prescott Bush, funded Hitler. Senior and Obama are cousins. It's U.S. royalty, and Trump isn't one of them. That's why they hate him.
Oh,
interesting. I've never heard that before. Freemasons and basement guy again.
And we're back in the basement.
Aliens.
Hey, they're all lizard
I think
folk.
it's a very good idea to follow the money.
Yes.
Very good idea. It's like,
yes.
Where did this money come from? Where is it going? What is it actually being used for?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, the channel that keeps putting out James Files interviews is a known FBI channel they use to confuse the public even more. So Nick Killer, you think that it's not James Files? What do you think? I'm kind of curious to see what you think.
Because that is an interesting point.
Yeah.
If this fella, if everything he says is true, how could he prove it except by, here's my testimony? But on the other side, it's just the guy saying, hey, this happened. You know? So like you have to sift through what matches up with what we can verify.
Yep. Nerd, thank you. Yes, I did it. It was all me back in the 60s, 30 years before I was born. Totally me. Sorry, guys.
Yes.
Did you guys ever watch Chappelle's show back in the day?
I did not.
So I always think about the part where Dave Chappelle is playing Morgan Freeman in a Deep Impact, and he decides the Earth is ending, so he's going to let all the information out there. And he said that Kennedy was killed by one man, John Wilkes Booth, with a magic bullet. Magic does exist. We've known this for about 5,000 years.
Oh my goodness.
That's funny. I love that. That's great. Colin, is that Red Bull at this hour?
We're just getting
crazy.
started. Just getting started. What do you mean? The night is young.
Yeah, he's got off tomorrow. We got off tomorrow. We ain't going nowhere. Yeah. Says I think the military did it. Interesting.
Like the military industrial complex.
Yeah, good question.
That's an awful lot of money. I believe Eisenhower spoke about that when he was president, saying we have made a huge industry out of military armaments and such for World War II, which really helped us win. Really helped us. But now that you have all that machinery running and in one direction, how are you going to stop it? You know?
Right. Yep. Yeah. Did I make it in time for the 5 o'clock free crack giveaway? Star Wars nerds just Yo, this is a fun panel. I like y'all. No homo. Well, I appreciate it. Please do so. Go subscribe to my to our YouTube channel here. Go subscribe to these guys up top as well. Star Wars Nerd and Kyber Forged as well. Janelle says he warned us. Military complex is controlled by the CIA.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you it's similar to the what's the movie? Lord of War with Nicolas Cage. At the very end where they're like, "Oh, we got you. We got you dead to rights. You're going down." And he's like, "Look, I might be the bad guy today, but the government doesn't want to be involved in certain things, and so they use people like me to do what they want."
Yeah.
So I'm not going to prison. You know.
Side note, Colin and I today, while we were on the route, we're talking about Nicolas Cage movies and like good Nicolas Cage movies and stuff. So it's funny that you bring that up because
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chain Man says Johnson was a decent president. Says multiple 3-letter organizations and the military actually did the assassination. The shooters were trained professionals. I mean, it could have been, man. Could have been. There's multiple theories.
Mm-hmm. It's a fact that Lee Harvey Oswald was in the military at one point in his life, correct?
Yes. Yep. Same thing with this James Files. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting. That's a good point though, Nick Killers, is if it is an FBI channel posting these, why? Yeah. Says yes, he was a Marine.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Crazy. Interesting.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? I mean, what do you guys hope happens out of all of this? In the long run,
I think a cultural shift would be in order.
Yeah.
The idea of individual accountability, individual responsibility. Actually saying, I am not going to rely on the government to do things for me. I am going to do for myself. I don't want the government to do these things for me. I want them out of here.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that idea, I think, is one of the missing foundational blocks in our culture.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a cultural shift is needed. None of this insanity anymore. Doghouse video. I know Colin knows what I'm talking about.
Sorry if I didn't mean to laugh, but I read that comment and I about died.
Nick Killer says, I don't believe anything will really come out of it. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I
I kind of agree. Like, I think if there is information out there that says something like conspiracy-wise happened, it's been destroyed. There's no way something like that just is sitting in a file somewhere. Like, all that stuff's gone. So I think if they find out anything, we know as much as we're ever going to.
Yeah. And that's a real possibility. Part of me wants to think that they got so cocky of like, hey, no one's ever going to find this out. Like, we are bigger than the government. We are bigger than even if we leave it here, nobody's going to look at it because we told them not to. Like, part of me hopes they got a little cocky.
Same.
And if you go back to the original guy, the big guy for FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, he kept a lot of stuff as blackmail.
Yeah.
So unless you find that stash, then I agree. Not that particular stash, but something like that. And yeah, I agree. It's why would they keep it? It's just self-incriminating.
Right. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Chain Man says, basically, I think the reveal will reinforce what we are seeing with the current government and take away the last of the ability to hide. Yeah.
I'm pretty certain all that's going to happen from the release is they're probably just going to confirm the same story they've been using all this time. And the only way we see anything different for JFK, for example, is if the James File thing isn't a hoax, is if that guy reveals the book that he supposedly has. Unless something like that comes into play for these, I'm pretty sure it's just going to be the same thing. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's just going to be, yeah, Oswald did it. All this is this, and it's just going to be the same thing that's been mantraed off for years.
Yeah, yeah. Says I don't believe anything will come out of it that we don't already know. The CIA easily can get rid of files. They even got rid of JFK's brain. Interesting.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I would agree with Whistle and Breeze. I would hope that this would be the last straw for the American public and be like, okay, there's no trust anymore. And those barriers get taken down, that they have to essentially, we just let them know, like, okay, you can't control our lives anymore. Like, leave us alone. We want you belong you don't belong in our lives. But I don't think anything will come of it. I think it was like the whole thing with the government and the UFOs. They're like, oh, you can't tell people that there's UFOs. They'll freak out. They finally released documents and no one freaked out. They're like, yeah, we know. We've known about this for a long time.
Yep.
And I think the government, for whatever reason, there's some very paranoid people at the top levels that just think if they know something, they'll freak out. No, we have better things to worry about. It's not going to affect us.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
We did talk about that, Chain Man. Might have been right before you got there. All right. So I think we've kind of exhausted the JFK stuff for now. We'll see what happens when files are released, if we get a nothing burger or whatever. But I do want to go around and lighten the mood a little bit. Okay, we're going to start with Star Wars Nerd and kind of just go around the deal here. And I asked you this on your stream the other night. But I thought of it while I was in the McDonald's drive-thru, and I'm like, this is a cool question. I don't think I've ever heard anybody ask this. What to you is the funniest line in Star Wars, or funniest moment in Star Wars?
Oh God.
You did ask me this on Whatnot. So everybody knows that I absolutely despise the sequels. Like, if it was up to me, I'm jettisoning them out of the spaceship. I'm tracking it down. I'm grinding it up and blasting it into a billion pieces. Absolutely hate those movies. But in The Rise of Skywalker, there's a scene where Kylo Ren is on Exegol and he's like booking it. And he jumps and he lands on this big old chain that's connected to one of the Star Destroyers. And he just goes, ow. And it's the funniest thing in all three of those movies.
That's funny. There you go. Kyber Forged?
Mine, I talked about the other day. It's not so much the line, it's the reading. And it was Ewan McGregor with the killing younglings.
Yeah, that's funny. I think I saw something there where he was actually trying not to laugh for some reason. Like, he and Natalie Portman were both trying not to laugh, and so that's why.
C-3PO fell. Anthony Daniels crashed into
That's what it was.
Sets.
Yes. And so
I wish they had that.
That happened back scene while he was saying his line, and so that's why he covers his hand like this, because he's trying not to laugh. So, Andy, Mr. Classified. Chain Man says anything with Jar Jar Binks getting injured. Doghouse says Star Wars is only 3 movies.
Anything for me would probably be anything with Obi-Wan. I love how quippy he is, and not in like he's trying to be quippy. Just his lines are really funny.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on a minute, we're better than this.
Oh, not
Anything he
good.
says.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah.
Well, of course I know him. He's me.
Oh man, those are good.
It's silly. It's childish. But I love Jawas. And I think it's during the pod race in episode 1 when they go past the Jawa and he's just like, Houdini! It's stupid, but I love it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Laugh it up, fuzzball. Yeah. Colin, you got anything?
Ooh, that's a tough one, Chief. That's a tough one for me. Let's see. I think the funniest part of the Star Wars trilogy for myself as an adult is in the second episode when Anakin has to guard Padme on her home planet, and she's like, "We can't be together." Proceeds to spend every waking moment with him, dressed up all super like sexy, like flirting with him, doing all
Yep.
these things that she shouldn't be, and then just being like, "By the way, stay away from me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I there's that meme that shows Padme in that black leather dress next to the fire, and it's like, yeah, if she rejected, yeah, I'd destroy homeworlds too, or something. I would destroy, like it was so funny. It's something to that effect. It was pretty funny. I think for me, the Phantom Menace is a close one for me because I it's close to my heart because it's the first movie I ever saw in theaters, and so when they're getting ready to race, and that one, I can't remember his name, can't get off the line, and the stupid little robot droids are like, and then the one goes through, shooting through the engine, and then he's like, oh no, and he, I just love that part. And then he like gets on his knees and he's like, woo-hoo-hoo, that little droid.
Yeah.
Oh man. Only a Sith deals in absolutes is an absolute, which is funny to me. Right?
You don't even want to get me started on Kenobi and that during that entire scene. So
I will
don't-
do what I must.
So I discovered so me and my daughter actually just binge watched like Obi-Wan like today because like we were bored, and two huge missed opportunities in like recent Star Wars things. In Kenobi, the moment when like Obi-Wan gets buried, why doesn't Vader say, "Now I have the high ground"?
Yeah. Definitely a missed
And
opportunity there.
other one, if you guys have seen Skeleton Crew, the part where like Jaleel White just like hits the button and activates it and like flips that other guy up into the spikes. Why doesn't he say, "Did I do that?"
That's hilarious. That's so funny. Did you guys, any of you guys get a chance to see the new Star Wars anime that Jar Jar Jargon released?
That was
I haven't,
sick.
not yet.
Dude is
if you-
talented.
He is. Have you guys, any Whistling Breeze, Andy, you guys know the Heir to the Empire?
Yeah.
Okay.
The books, yeah.
Yep. Have you read any of them?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'll share this in the chat here. But go take a listen. I'm actually one of the voice actors in it.
Oh yeah, you were showing me. Yeah.
Finally released the episode, so a lot of fun. Super excited.
Gazer's
By the
getting
way,
his SAG card here soon.
Yeah.
Also tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern, Kyber Forge and I are both going to be releasing our interviews with Mr. Roger Christian. So,
Yes. It was awesome.
Excellent.
yep. For those of you
I'm
that
gonna
know,
report both of y'all's videos for reused content.
How dare you?
and you can do the same thing then.
Nope, mine's the OG video. Thank you very much.
I don't care.
I know
posting
you
it.
guys just AI'd your videos or your faces over my face.
And
Let's see how many
Theory's face. So let's start there.
let's see how many Tails videos I can download tonight.
Yeah. I love it. Yep. Says I still love the OG West End game Star Wars RPG. Are you talking like Knights of the Old
Like
Republic
KOTOR?
and stuff like that, or
Yeah, KOTOR is awesome.
KOTOR is amazing.
KOTOR might be
Has-
coming back. We can hope.
Has
If
Has the
rumors are
best
true.
I hope
cinematic
so.
trailer ever.
I will say
I love me some Revan.
this comment kind of ticks me off because no, and Dark Empire was stupid. Get it out of here.
Tell them how you
Palpatine
really
died
feel.
in Return of the Jedi. He didn't get cloned. I don't care. It was stupid.
I loved I can almost pinpoint like when there was one time I was talking about how much I enjoyed like Dark Interview and Dark Empire, and I could just look over at like Nerd and just literally see like the hate radiating off of him.
I feel
like,
the
no,
hate
there is no Palpatine
through
clone.
I can feel your anger. Use it.
It's I don't know what it is. It's actually kind of like what you said. I think it was last night or something like that, Gazer, where you were like, I mean, it just undoes his whole redemption arc. You brought him back for no reason.
Luke never turned to the dark side.
Yeah. Yep. And that's something I talked about too, like with the sequels and especially episode 8, where talking to Roger Christian, right? He's the one that invented that lightsaber. Like, he's the one that invented the lightsaber. There's so much history and lore bound up in that lightsaber. And for Luke just to take it and go, whoop, you just threw all that history and lore over your shoulder like it didn't matter. Like it was nothing. I think Disney's best move would be to pretend the sequels never happened and pick up where Return of the Jedi left off. Bring back the characters we want to see and don't kill them all. I agree.
Rumor is that's kind of what they're doing as far as like, you know, that rumored Luke Skywalker movie that like might happen. So
yeah.
This is the first I've heard of one.
Chain Man, in response to Nerd, says, yeah, the clone chamber thing was lame, but not as lame as Luke's death scene.
They're both lame and stupid.
guys, we can all help our friends who are overdosing on the Force.
I love it.
Kyber Forge, you mentioned that there's a rumored Luke movie out there? Or
there's rumors like, and that's kind of where like Disney is kind of working him into Batuu and everything with R2 now.
Yeah, Galaxy's Edge. Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to do like a gapper between like Return and like where all of like Mandalorian and everything picks up, where it's like, you know, they got the body actor and then they got Mark Hamill doing the voice and like face like acting and everything for it.
Yeah. How often do y'all go live? Average Asia, thank you so much for joining. We go live every Saturday night at 9:30 Central Time. So every Saturday night, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern. Thank you for joining. Appreciate all you guys in here. This has been a lot of fun.
Indeed.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with everything. But I appreciate y'all joining. Colin, thank you for joining. We'll get you back on here, Colin, when the files actually do get released.
Yes. I would enjoy
Let's
going
hope
over
so.
that with everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, if they get released. When it finally happens.
Yeah, when they finally happen. That's why I was waiting and I'm like, you know what? Let's just talk about it. Let's actually just get this thing started. So get it started and talk about it. So I honestly think my favorite Star Wars moment was when the scout trooper punched Baby Yoda. That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny.
Oh man.
That is funny. See you guys next time. I'll be back. I subbed. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, Doghouse Video. It's good to have you on here. I appreciate you being in the comments and keeping this party alive. So, but thank you for everyone who's in here. Again, Kyber Forge, Star Wars Nerd, Andy Classified, Whistle and Breeze, and Mr. Colin, which you can find him on Twitch TV at Nylock After Dark. So, good to see you guys. This is fun. Thanks for hanging out. Absolutely. Yeah, be sure to subscribe. And like I said, we're here every Saturday night at 9:30 Central. So if you want to continue being part of the action, please, by all means, do so. So also, don't forget, like I said, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern, we'll be releasing our interviews with Mr. Roger Christian, the inventor of the lightsaber and original props man for A New Hope. So
Nice.
looking forward to that. Anyway, anyone have any last words?
I do. I'm gonna pull
Go
a
ahead,
Ricky.
Nerd.
I need everybody that's watching get real close here.
Oh, no.
Need you guys to subscribe to Gazer so that way he can give away a Plo Koon saber.
True story. I am
Ooh.
currently once I get to 250, come on phone, work with me here. Once I get to 250, I'll be doing a lightsaber giveaway. Right now I only need 14 subscribers.
All right.
And
while we're plugging stuff, we also need to get some more subscribers over here to Star Wars Nerd because if we can get him up to 500 by May, we get to see him in a Leia bikini
Slave
at
Leia.
ICC Con.
Yep. Fortner has promised that if we get him to 500 before ICCC, he will wear for one day. He will wear slave Leia costume.
And not
Oh,
just
man.
like wear it till I get like tired of wearing. I'm talking like as soon as the convention, actually, soon as we walk down from the hotel room to breakfast, I'm gonna be in it.
You're going to need so much cornstarch that day.
You'll at least have underwear on, unlike Leia. Right?
I'm gonna be wearing like basketball shorts and like
Okay,
a
thank
tank
you.
top underneath. I'm not going like full. I'm not going.
It's just
full
going to be
Leia
more of a
right there.
t-shirt. Like,
Have you guys heard the story about that? Why Leia didn't have like underwear or anything on when she wore that outfit?
Because there's no bras in space.
Yeah, there was no bras or underwear in space, was what the director told her.
That's so wild.
oh God.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a good night. May the force be with you always.
Peace.